7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, November 10th, 2025. Good morning to all of our new listeners. There's a new show across town.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes.
People trying out new shows.
Yeah, putting on a new pair of shoes, see how it works. Yeah,
glad to have you with us.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it's nice that they're replicating the model we have here over the other place, kind of a thing. Two people talking.
Yeah, but Bill,
we're not the first, but still.
Bill, we can never replicate you. Everybody knows that. You're once in a lifetime,
yes.
Mr. Thorpe.
And my parents are so happy. They're like, we could not deal with another one of these. They were so happy when my brother was wired differently. They're like, oh, God, what have we got ourselves into? That was 9 months of stress. And we can't handle another one. We can't handle another one. Yeah. Yeah. They're lucky. He's much more normal. Yes, much more normal. That wasn't jumping off the roof or nothing.
So, welcome to everybody listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Billy and I debate everything over here and have found a way not to wring each other's necks, even though we get sometimes rather heated.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But glad to have you. But more importantly, this isn't just a Jeff and Bill debate show. It is a Jeff, Bill, and you debate show.
Yes, you're
so
important.
Right, left, center, give us a call. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. Jacqueline, that darn intro song was in my head all weekend long.
I know, mine too. I was cleaning. It was a deep clean weekend around the house, so helping my wife and I were doing some deep cleaning, just getting at stuff because we got 6 people in the house, and you just need to do this every so often. We do about every 6 weeks or so, and yeah, I'm sitting there cleaning, and I'm like, making up with Jeff. I'm like, oh, seriously? Yeah, that was the theme song. I'm like, oh, great. That's earworm candy. It's fantastic.
Glad to have you joining us. Wow, lots to talk about today. It looks like we might be closer to ending the government shutdown. 8 Senate Democrats crossing the aisle to negotiate a deal. And boy, is blue sky fun this morning.
The other part is this. We got to rope this one in. Is how pissed is Schumer this morning, too? We haven't talked about this because these people did an end run around him.
And,
wow.
And these aren't just some of the fringe Democrats out there that live in purple states. Dick Durbin.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Number 2.
Yeah, this is a big deal. There are some names on this list of the Dems that want to cross the line.
Tim Kaine, another one?
Woo, yeah, you remember Tim, vice presidency, type of thing. So, yeah. So, it's interesting. Very, very interesting as far as those. For me, it shows how ineffective Schumer is as a leader. Because, and here's the reason, I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi, but you better believe me that there would have been no Democrats coming out doing this around Nancy's back. No. That would not happen. But again, Chuck is, well, mostly harmless.
What's interesting to me is that this isn't seen as a way to move forward. Like the Democrat base out there isn't going, we were the ones.
Yeah.
That said, all right, the starving children, the unpaid flights.
Yeah, the air traffic controllers and all your stuff. Yeah,
sorry,
and all the other government employees.
Oh, yeah. Air traffic controllers.
Yes, and all the other government workers and all the other stuff.
You don't see us going, you know what? We're willing to put aside our petty differences for the best of this country and to move this country. No, you're like getting a wild response from Democrats. It's like, you betrayed us. Listen to some of this. This is Blue Sky.
Yeah, please.
This morning. This deal to open up the government is effing disgraceful. Tens of millions will lose their health care. Trump will be emboldened. This is exactly what's wrong with Democrat Party leadership and why we need more people in Congress who will actually hold the line. Some lady named Kat. She's not happy. Scrolling down, here's another one. This is a guy named Max. 5,000 likes on Blue Sky. The reason people think the Democrat Party doesn't actually stand for anything is because it doesn't. Here's another one.
Wait, hang on here. So, dude spent his time and put his thingies together, the keyboard, to is when people say they don't think the Democrat Party stands for something, they don't. That's your insight. Thank you. I just that's your critique. Okay. This is why I can't do the social media like that.
Well, it's not just blue sky. Here we
Just
go.
can't.
Heroin Barbie, Representative Brittany Pedersen. This is not a deal. This does nothing to address the skyrocketing costs of health care facing American families. And I would never trust, quote, a promise, unquote, to vote on the ACA later from Republicans. While I join you all in deep disappointment, this fight is far from over.
Got a question for you.
Brittany's fired up.
Question for you. If you had to, one of my favorite things, gradient scale. This is not a black or white issue. This is about scoreboard. Oh, I do. All the time. My kids hate it. Who's the winner out of this? If you had to point to the scoreboard, even if it is a last-second field goal like the Broncos over the Raiders.
Right now, Republicans,
who's
100%, in part because of all their flip-outs. Now, if the Democrats had gotten together, and Jay from Louisville saying Schumer gave them permission, don't be naive on this, but if Democrats had gotten together and spiked the football and said, we're the ones in the midst of these terrible Republicans that are keeping the government shut down, we were the ones that were willing to negotiate, then I might go, they might come out. But because they're literally lighting up blue sky and X with this Democrats don't have a spine type of stuff, goes to show that we're the ones, Republicans, that won.
Yeah, for me, I would say that yes, as the scoreboard, this is a last-second field goal by the Republicans. Or, better yet, this is the Democrats dropping the ball in their own end zone and allowing the Republicans to get a safety on them because they got very little of anything. And I still think that I should have, if I was in power, if I was in the Democrat camp inside of Congress, I would have argued for just a one-year extension of the subsidies because it takes away the pain point Republicans and other lawmakers have to deal with right now as the exchanges are opening. It kicks the can down a year because we know that everybody in Congress has zero interest in dealing with problems now. The budget versus continuing resolutions show that. How many times have they dealt with the budget versus just, we'll just continue resolution this thing? They don't like to do these things at all. So it would have given them a 12-month window to kick the can down the road. In fact, they've given them only several months of a can, and they're going to go ahead and have some sort of a debate and then a vote. I don't understand the strategy from the Democrats on this part. Again, in my mind, you've dropped the ball in the end zone, and the Republicans have covered it for a safety, and they win by just a narrow margin. Good job.
Bill, I would say one of the most debated issues on this show is healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we throw that out there, and we had that the last hour. I mean, calls, and we'll probably get calls this hour, next hour, and the next on the healthcare issue. Gear up. Here we go. And I said all along that if this issue's hot enough to, as everyone says it is, around Obamacare subsidies and healthcare costs, that issue's going to stand on its own and will become a hot issue by itself. It didn't need to be tied to government shutdowns, but it looks like it's coming. So they'll get the government reopened and get ready for what is going to be a very spicy debate on healthcare. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today, including Fort Lewis College reversing its decision to open Turning Point USA chapter, and it was unanimous. So we'll cover that as well. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Monday morning, 30 as the sun rises, and it's beautiful out there in Denver, expecting a high of 71 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history may end soon. In a 60-40 vote Sunday, 8 members of the Senate Democratic Caucus joined Republicans in advancing a stopgap measure that would fund the government through January 30th. Sunday's vote came after an agreement was reached that included a future vote on extending health care subsidies and insurances that federal workers furloughed during the shutdown would be reinstated. But officially, reopening the government is far from a done deal. Any senator could slow the process for several days, and the House must reconvene to approve the Senate's deal. Colorado travelers can expect more flight headaches to begin this week. Airline expert Steve Cowell.
It's going to be easy for the airlines to reinstate the flights, but it's, of course, all based on the controllers coming off their sick leave and coming back into their stations. It's not going to happen all at once.
DIA still feeling the effects of the FAA's nationwide flight reductions tied to the Schumer shutdown, and the cancellations continue to stack up. Sunday, nearly 100 flights in and out of DIA were canceled, and more than 300 were delayed. DIA advising everyone to check with their airline before heading out. DJT is issuing a new round of pardons.
There are 77 more people being pardoned by President Trump, including former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, former Trump attorney Sidney Powell, and former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Those pardoned were allegedly involved in efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, including a plan to field an alternate slate of electors. The pardons were issued even though the Trump Justice Department was not pursuing the cases. I'm Rory O'Neill.
And 2 months ago today, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Over the weekend, Turning Point USA with a great idea, a debate between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson. Here's Levin.
I got a very strange text this morning from Tucker Carlson, 10:16 a.m. I'll read it to you for verbatim. Good morning, he writes to me. The leadership at Turning Point has asked me to debate you at their event in Scottsdale in December. I'm happy to do it, and I hope you'll agree as well. Beyond the personal insults, which I'll try to keep to a minimum, there are real and important ideological differences between us, and I think the country would benefit from an extended conversation about them. So again, I hope you'll accept. Let me know. Thanks. The guy is desperate. He's taken a hit on his podcast. He's fighting like hell for his career. He's fighting like hell for his reputation.
It's a debate. Why the personal attacks? Seriously.
People are awakening to what scum he actually is. And he thinks I'm going to platform him. He thinks I'm going to help him kick up his podcast ratings.
That raises a red flag for me. I'll play a little more of this.
What would Charlie say? What would Rush say?
Charlie would say, debate. That's what he did, was debate.
What would any rational response? Here it is. I wrote him the following. My family and I want nothing to do with you. What you've become, your vile libels against my faith, millions of Christians, and in my view, what you seek to do to our country. There's nothing to debate. You're a Nazi promoter.
Okay. All right. I used to love Levin, and I do still at times, but I think he needs to debate. We'll see what happens. Avs at Vancouver. Game goes into overtime.
This is a lot of confidence to the youngster Gavin Brindley, but Coach Bednar knows he has the speed. He can carry it into the zone. Brindley, shifty, Brindley, wrist shot, saved by Lankinen. Score! Gavin Brindley, his first career game-winning goal, his third career goal, and the Avs have won it in overtime on the second effort.
And they do it again, 5-4, Colorado in OT. NFL football last night, Broncos off, of course. They had the Thursday night victory. Steelers at the Chargers.
Because we're down to 16 seconds left. Herbert throwing inside, touchdown McConkey! Lad McConkey!
And Chargers chasing the Broncos in the West with Kansas City. They win 25-10 the final. Nuggets at the Kings tomorrow night, 28 in Parker, 27 in Lakewood, 30 in Denver. You are waking up with Jeff and Bill, and it is Monday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 KNUS forecast this early Monday. Clear skies, temperatures right around 30 degrees by daybreak. For the rest of your Monday, sunny, highs near 70, lows tonight in the low 40s. For Veterans Day on Tuesday, a salute to all you veterans. Sunny skies, highs near 70. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're getting closer to ending the shutdown, and Democrats are not happy. Here's Phil Weiser. It's hard to believe that a cohort of Senate Democrats are willing to take on empty promises and risk millions of people losing access to health care. By the way, welcome to handing things to the government. Yes, millions can lose it during a political debate. We need Democrats who can stand their ground and fight for what we believe in, and we need a Congress that can get serious. By the way, it's kind of fascinating that in Colorado, you can just fight the president as much as you want. Just whatever the president does, take the opposite side, and you'll be rewarded electorally. That's where we are. That's why I think Phil Weiser's in a position to win right now, this primary, and become the next Democrat nominee for governor. Because this is like our voter base. I got a comment over the weekend on my X account where people were like, Jeff, do you have the cojones? This is a real comment, by the way. Do you have the cojones to come out here and fight for election integrity and against the rigging of the elections in Colorado? And I thought to myself, look, I spend more time. I'm probably the Republican that talks to Democrats more than any other Republican in the state. Not only on the show do they call 4 hours a day, and we have those conversations. I actually go down to the rallies and interview them. I think I talk to Democrats more than any other Republican in the entire state. And I believe that a majority of the voters in Colorado, a pretty sizable, strong majority of voters in Colorado, are very progressive. Borderline socialists. They showed up in mass for Bernie Sanders rally. So I think they fit right into the Phil Weiser worldview. Fight the president. Fight, fight, fight. On everything. Donald Trump says the sky is blue. No, the sky is green. And they'll go out there and voters will clap them. And Phil Weiser, there's no electoral consequence to just being completely opposed to what President Trump does in Colorado at this point. So he's not happy. So what happened? Well, New York Times not even happy on this, but it's one of their headlines. Democrats' unity crumbled as the shutdown dragged on. Shutdown, while not over yet, they write, Sunday's 60-40 vote cleared the way for the Senate to formally debate the spending measure before a final vote. If the Senate approves it, the package still must be passed by the House, which has been on an extended recess and has not yet scheduled a return date, and signed by President Trump. Still, the deal that senators reached on Sunday night reflected important lessons for both parties from the shutdown fight and is likely to have far-reaching policy and political implications long after the government grinds back to life. For 40 days, Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, the minority leader, kept his Democrat caucus unified as a government shutdown stretched into record-breaking territory. But that discipline couldn't hold forever, and it broke without Democrats achieving what they insisted was their chief demand in the fight, the extension of health insurance subsidies that are scheduled to expire at the end of the year. The group of moderate senators who broke from their party said they could no longer hold out on a deal while Americans suffered the consequences of a shuttered government. And they cited a commitment from Senator John Thune of South Dakota that the Republican leader that they would at least receive a vote on the tax credits sometime in December. Now, blue sky Democrats, not happy, indivisible. Posting on Blue Sky, we cannot afford a divided and weak opposition party when an authoritarian is invading our cities, terrorizing our communities, and corruptly self-enriching at the expense of the rest of us. We want to celebrate a Democrat party that fights back. But after this latest surrender, the next step is primaries and new leadership. We get the party we demand, and we intend to demand one that fights. So, Bill, question to you.
Yeah.
Mondami wins just, what was it, 5 days ago?
Yeah.
6 days ago on Fight Donald Trump. Democrats in Denver and Colorado fight Donald Trump. And you get a coalition of 8 out of the Senate Democrats that are willing to negotiate to try to open the government. What is going to happen to the Democrat Party?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Because I don't think this necessarily convinces those people that want to fight Donald Trump to stay home. So I'm not certain of what the negativity is. And while I understand the idea of Mamdani, again, it's the mayor of New York. Granted, one of the 2 largest cities in the U.S. and major center of capitalism. But again, he's a mayor, not a governor or anything else. And the other governors that won didn't run on a fight Donald Trump, got to fight Donald Trump type of a message. That seems to work. It seems to work. Yeah. So it seems to work here. And I think it will help Phil Weiser. And that's probably why strategically he has been focused in the area in which he has over the past 4 years, being more concerned about what's happening out of Washington than being concerned about here, in my mind, as far as crime. So I think that he was always playing for the governor's mansion. What I'm curious about, and I understand because the person we had in the last hour said, well, Schumer obviously said this was okay. They had a text message or something that responded to that. But Schumer says he's a no on this. So if he did say he was okay with them negotiating some sort of then why is he a no? Unless that's the reason, is that we think Schumer gave the other Democrats the blessing to go and negotiate a deal that he then was going to vote against. Which, okay, I can see that happening inside of politics, but I still, my gut is telling me they probably went around Schumer. And if he's saying no, because if he was part of this and wanted this to happen, I think he votes yes. But again, weirder things have happened. I wouldn't put it past any politician to behind the scenes say they're in favor of something they then vote against in public. I wouldn't put that past any politician at all. So that absolutely could happen. I'm also curious about how the Republicans respond to some of this because like Rand Paul was going to vote no because he says some of this increases the deficit. Are some of those deficit hawks in the House going to be as strong? The Chip Roys, are they going to be there? The Thomas Masseys, are they going to be there and talk about debt and deficit? And are they going to be a problem passing this on the other end? So I'm real curious about that. And I'm wondering if that is part of the Democrat playbook, is that they don't think the Republicans will fall in line on this deal. And if they don't, the narrative in my mind shifts to the Republicans not wanting to pass the deal that was brokered inside the Senate. But I'm very skeptical, very, very skeptical if that happens. Very, 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 very skeptical. I think there's less than a 10% chance of that actually coming true. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
And Massey, who I think is great because of his stance on fiscal conservatism, is facing primaries. So
yeah,
within his own party, that's been offered. I'm not sure. I'm looking to see if we've heard from Donald Trump yet on True Social.
I haven't seen anything yet, but I do know that overnight Schumer did say that he's voting no on the shutdown deal. That has been reported.
question I have for you is, in this case, when we were talking about the government shutdown, we talked about how there's always this like gang of 5 that pops up, or gang of 8, or gang of 10 moderates on either side.
Yeah, and they always use the word
Republicans and
gang because they want to seem cool. They just want to have the street
it's
cred.
The closest
exactly.
that those two
so very close they ever
will get to gang members.
Yes, exactly. It's as close they'll ever get. Yes.
So if there's moderates on either side that kind of get together to kind of push this forward, is it right to have this pearl clutching that's coming from the Democrats right now going, what? How dare us? We never stand for anything. But in every case, in every shutdown, there's always been a group that's essentially tried to pull this together. And no matter what nation you're dealing with, whether it's England here, Western nation, you're going to have coalitions that form. It could be lots of tiny little coalitions, or it can be broader coalitions like we have in this nation, Republicans and Democrats. But within each one of those parties, you have coalitions themselves that operate in factions, and people fight each other. I mean, you just heard that between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson. Within the conservative movement, fighting each other. So this just seemed like this was inevitable. This is what happens with other shutdowns. And now you got a group that came together, figured out a way forward. Yes, Democrats did not get what they wanted, but I said that vote was going to come anyways. That you're going to get a vote on Obamacare subsidies. That debate is a standalone debate, and believe me, it's going to kick off a lot of texts and phone calls on this show.
Yeah, we're going to be spending like a week on that.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right, 40 days later.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Here's the thing. My first blush is no. As a whole, I don't think it was worth it on either side. I don't think the Republicans necessarily have proved a point, nor have the Democrats necessarily proved a point. I don't think I can point at either side as being winners, although I can point to just the vast total of Americans being the losers in this entire thing, based on the stuff that we've had to go through with, some people not getting SNAP benefits, some people getting fired, people not getting paid, having to go to food banks in order to feed their families, people missing airline flights, stuff like that. So we have paid the price, while the Democrats and Republicans have paid almost no appreciable price at all. And this is something I would like the Jeff and Bill audience to remember, that oftentimes in these type of struggles, you will hear one thing. Well, the other side always falls in line, and when it's time, they always stand strong, and they always vote, and they always bupkis. I'm throwing the BS flag on that one. Both sides will give up at varying degrees. And to a T, the side that feels aggrieved always complains that the other side is better at standing together. No. Neither side is really good at standing together 100% of the time. Everybody has cracks in the Red Rover line when you're trying to prevent the other people from breaking through. And this is an example to all of you that said the Democrats always stand together and they're never going to break. They just did. They just did. And you can see the reaction by some of the hardcore Democrats, their supporters, how upset they are at this. Now, the only strategic landmine that I can see the Democrats accomplishing at all is forcing a vote on the healthcare subsidies. If they can get some sort of debate and make this public, now you've got somewhat of an election issue. But I don't, the Republicans, in theory, depending on how this is written, could come out and say, oh, yeah, we're going to go right to we're not going to have any debate. We're going to go right to the vote, or we're going to push off the vote, or depends on how this thing is written. So I don't think the Democrats have gained a heck of a lot. But then again, you could ask the Republicans, was it worth waiting 40 days to just agree to have a vote on the Affordable Care Act subsidies? For all the time you ran around for 40 days going, clean resolution, why don't they vote on the clean resolution? And you could have stopped this by just agreeing on a vote for the ACA subsidies. You suck too. You also have a little bit of responsibility in this. If this is all you had to do to avoid people from missing their flights, to avoid people from having to go to food banks and worry about where their SNAP benefits are, then you should have done this earlier. Both sides. Neither one of you wanted to compromise on this. And when you finally had to compromise, look at the weak compromise you got. This is about the weakest thing either side could have agreed to, and it took them 40 days.
But do you think it's weak? I think the Republicans pretty much are going to get everything they want, because here's how it's going to play out. They're going to get the government open, and they're going to reject additional subsidies for Obamacare.
Yeah.
That'll be the vote.
Hang on.
Now, we're going to go through a lot of debate around it, but the vote's going to be against that.
Why couldn't they have done that 30 days ago?
What do you mean?
Why couldn't they have just agreed and voted on that 30 days ago along with the Democrats? That's part of it. Because, again, we heard for weeks.
But the Democrats were tying they wanted additional subsidies.
I know, but also the Republicans were like, clean resolution, we're not doing anything without a clean resolution. Nope, just vote to open the government and then clean resolution, then we'll talk about it later. They could have wrapped in this guarantee of a debate, et cetera, early on. My understanding is,
I think
they were talking about it, but I didn't see anything in a formal proposal, and I could be wrong about that, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But that's the issue, is this could have been something. We will make this vote on such and such. We will make this on such and such. And so that's all I'm looking at, is if this is all that it took, then why were we dancing around going, well, you have to pass the clean resolution first, If this is where we eventually ended up, why did it take 40 days? That's what I can't figure out. I mean, again, I think the Democrats for this poor deal hold much more responsibility than the Republicans do. But the Republicans, in my mind, hold a share of the responsibility, because if this is all it took, then why did so many Americans have to face so many difficulties for weeks if this is what we could get to?
I think they offered that promise early on. The only addition that Democrats got was some back pay and to the federal employees, and a guarantee that some of them won't be fired. So, all right. Well, join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk advanced hair restoration. Guys, if you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology, and best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out their before and afters online for yourself at 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com. advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and text. It looks like we might be getting closer to the end of the government shutdown. Do you appreciate some Democrats coming over to negotiate the end of this? Or is this an abdication of the Democrats' responsibility, abandoning their voters, and they should be thrown out? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. You think this is Schumer's wake-up song?
Yeah, right. Well,
Sits in front of the mirror.
Yeah. On that note, headline out of Politico, Schumer is no longer effective. Dems outraged over shutdown deal.
From the NS Sherlock Department of Investigative Journalism. Yes. Really?
They looked at blue sky this morning.
Yes.
Congressional Democrats are livid, Politico writes, after a handful of their Senate colleagues voted Sunday to advance the House-passed stopgap and end the government shutdown. Senator Chris Murphy called it a mistake. Bernie Sanders called it a very bad night. Representative Ro Kahana and Seth Moulton accused Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of being ineffective and called for his removal.
I love that. And again, I dislike Chuck Schumer on a level that most people don't understand. I just think he's so ineffective. And this has very little to do with politics. I think he shouldn't be there. As far he's an example of someone that I think is just picture perfect as far as someone that is bad at their job. And I always go back to the one image that still holds a special place in my heart. And I am hoping that whenever I pass from this realm and finally meet my maker and my Lord and Savior, that I'm hoping this runs by in that film, right as you're passing. Because they always say that, moments of your life run by. And I'm always hoping this is going to be one of those things where I get one last time, I get to see during some of the problems that are going on January 6th behind the scene, some of the Democrats are meeting in an office, and Nancy Pelosi is talking about what could happen, and Chuck talks about who he's just called. And Nancy looks at him and dismisses him like a 4-year-old kid. She looks at him just like, not now, Chuck, be quiet. And just keeps going. And just that full-on dismissal that, Chuck, you are not helping, you can't do anything right now, and you're mostly an idiot. When Nancy looked at just everything about that makes me happy. I really hope I get to see that when I'm passing away, because that is one of my favorite things in the world.
I think all of America saw that when he put cheese on raw meat.
Yes. Again, he has no idea what he's doing. He shouldn't. He should be the
He's not
person.
planning to turn over the meat to cook it, apparently.
No, not at all. There are times in which he should be the guy that is helping you navigate the produce department at the grocery store. When do these melons come in? I don't know. I'll go check for you. That's what he should be doing. Should not be in charge of making rules. I'm sorry. I dislike Schumer on a personal level.
If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? Kana said in a post on X following the vote. On the flip side, Joan from Lakewood texted in, I'm proud of Senator Thune for standing strong. I'm glad that they are shutting this down before Thanksgiving, shutting down the shutdown. Before Thanksgiving, I can tell you that my nephew decided to drive from Utah for Thanksgiving over flying. This shutdown really hurt the flying industry.
How much do you think that played into the Democrats wanting to come to the table?
Exactly what I was going to ask you about that, too.
Yeah, what do you think? On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank it? 1 being not at all, 10 being we got to do this by today or things are going to go sideways. Where would you rank it?
It was going to grow. Right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
My wife was traveling with my daughter doing the college visits over the weekend.
That's right.
And so questions were, she's having to check the phone. Is the flight going to get back? That type of stuff. So it was definitely affecting families. But as it got closer to Thanksgiving, that pressure was going to build. Because look, Mr. Thorpe, what is it? A good 50, 60% of people didn't even vote in this last election on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So a majority of Americans, a majority of Coloradans, aren't interested in the political stuff. You canceled their Thanksgiving plans. Now they're interested. And that was going to weigh in on this. So I think that was going to be effective. I think the federal employees not getting paid affected Democrats more than Republicans because I think percentage-wise, they tend to skew Democrat. And so Republicans, while going, and I had friends that weren't getting paychecks on this going, gosh, it's terrible that you're not getting paid. Now, I'm not talking about the troops, but other federal employees. I think that they were probably hearing from their constituents more. So, the pay, the flights, SNAP benefits, it was all starting to build.
Yeah, I think
if
flights
those
were a
were
problem.
moderate Democrats, not all of them, but some of them, then they were probably feeling the pressure more than Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper were.
Oh, absolutely. And shout out to caller who didn't want to go on the air but offered us a joke that said, where is the most dangerous place to stand in Washington, D.C.? Between Chuck Schumer and a camera. I was like, that's good.
I was going to say
Chuck's gonna
behind
push it
Chuck
away.
Schumer because they may stab him right in the back
Well,
right
actually,
now.
They'll stab you in the back and get to the camera. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
that's the thing. I like that. Yeah, they'll try to get to that one. I think the pressure was rising, in part because of the, as long as you're inconveniencing people. And I do lament with you the lack of participation in our elections. But part of the problem is I think the voter looks at their average life, and regardless of the people in power, nothing seems to get better. Nothing seems to be easier. Nothing seems to be growing. Their functionality of them putting food on the table and them keeping their job and raising their kids and worried about their kids' future, almost none of that is impacted week in and week out based on our lawmakers. And I think you and I could point to a number of things, both locally and nationally. One of those being something that you and I went round and round and round about here in the Colorado legislature, and that would be some of the transgender rights bill and some of those things. And that was a huge deal inside of Colorado, but for the average voter, did it change or better their position in their life? And I think that's part of the question. There are family members and there are members of the community that absolutely were impacted by that debate and some of the changes in the laws. But I think that's where a lot of the average voters are. Even people that have members, the LGBTQ community in their family, can be happy about, hey, this member of my family has, some added protections or has something else, but it doesn't mean it's easier for me to, buy the stuff I need at the grocery store.
Interesting, though, Peter Thiel, in an interview in the Free Press over the weekend, says the opposite, that a low turnout is the sign of a healthy society because people aren't rushing to the polls in order to try to change things. Fascinating. Well, we'd love to hear from you. You can hear the phone lines are ringing 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're inching closer to ending the government shutdown. The Democratic base furious that 8 Democrats came over to negotiate with Republicans a deal to reopen the government that will bring a promised vote on the ACA, Obamacare subsidies, as well as some other aspects of back pay for federal employees, things like that. But the base furious this morning. Let's go to the phone lines. Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff, Billy. This is pretty much in line. I said it was going to end Thursday, but okay, I was 4 days off. But here's the thing. Republicans now need to get on the treadmill right away, because not only do they need to pass the legislation opening the government, but they need to put together the firepower to counter the ACA issue.
Correct. I agree entirely with this. This is going to be a fierce debate. I said this debate could stand on its own as a fierce debate. And Republicans need to be ready for that.
Yeah. So whenever a Democrat, well, let's call them what they are, a Marxist, communist Democrat, brings up that we should provide illegals health care, because they always say all these millions of people are not getting health care. What they really mean is the millions of illegals are not getting health care. We should immediately respond with, we have the bill that doesn't fund illegal health care. We have the bill ready that is a responsible stopgap between now and next year, because we're not going to pass a revamped, complete health care bill, because you Marxist, communist Democrats will not vote for it. But here's our proposition. We will pass a stopgap to make it to the next Congress, and let's have the people decide whether they want to pay for your Marxist, communist, Democrat, illegal health care and fund the entire world with health care and completely bankrupt the United States.
That's an interesting take, Joe. That's an interesting take. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
do you have a response?
The thing is,
well, there's more parts to this. For one, we have to get back to funding regular order. I do believe that this move to fund several bills they were capitulating in a way to the Democrats the parts of regular order that the Democrats like for instance, passing the food bank, or not the food bank, SNAP, funding SNAP till the end of the year. I believe those are regular order bills that should be put through, but the rest of the regular order has to be loaded up into the chamber, because the Republicans need to be saying at every turn, we need to stop the communist Democrats forever by going back to regular order and passing a budget the way it's supposed to be passed.
Preach. I like it.
Yeah.
Do we have any faith of them doing that? Because again, the Democrats can't really stop them from doing that per se. They have the power and the ability, and they've had it for a year at this point in order to pass a budget. And instead, we got the big beautiful bill. So,
I believe that President Trump was on to something when he said end the filibuster. I don't think that was the wisest move, but I do think the idea that we need to have our ammo ready when we go to reconciliation every year and pass the regular order budget by a 51-49 Senate majority, then we can pass these.
We got to go, Joe. I'm sorry.
Up against the break.
Sorry.
We'll be back.
This is KNUS.